How do I keep my loved one entertained? And how do I keep them from saying no when I give them a suggestion? And we have a boring life. That is a statement and a question that was on a platform that I'm on. And I'm going to give you my answer in response to that question at the end of these 13 activities that I'm going to give you that you can do with your dementia loved one. First thing, movies. Why don't you make a movie day that you take them to the movies if there is something playing that they would enjoy? If you go in the afternoon, like midday, then there's not as many people around, and it might be more enjoyable for them to go when it's not so busy and crowded, so that it just doesn't confuse them as much. Second thing, grandchildren or children, could be a neighborhood child. They can come in and play ball with your loved one, just toss a ball back and forth. Anytime a child is around, you will notice that their face will just light up. You'll see in these pictures that I'm throwing up here, my mom, when we're trying to take pictures, when I had my grandchild with me, she wasn't looking at us. She just kept looking at the grandchild. So that's a good reason to have grandchildren around them as much as possible. Grandkids can also color with them in coloring books, and a lot of dementia patients love to do that. You can get these big, giant, jumbo coloring pencils now, and it's just easier for them to hold on to. In fact, I had a lady that worked at Delta, and she told me when she kept her mom with dementia, she would take that like self-adhesive tape that, like when you have blood drawn, they wrap that all around your arm. You can get that, and if you'll wrap that on the pencils, then it just makes it easier for them to grip onto that. Okay, third thing, puzzles. There are a lot of dementia puzzles out there that you can get that will have like 32 pieces or 64 pieces. And that again is something that even your grandchildren could do with them or a child could do with them. But if they used to love to do puzzles, that's just another good thing that they can do, a good activity. Fourth thing, music therapy. And I did another video on just music therapy, but anytime that you can have music in their life, it's going to create a bonding experience with you and with the loved one, and it's just going to be a good thing all the way around. I'm not sure if in your area you have what's called the Shepherd Center, but they're all around the country. If you get in touch with them, they even have something that's called a music jam session. And when I spoke to the lady there, she said that the dementia loved ones enjoy that so much. So that's something else that you can look into. Okay, the fifth thing, hardware stores. I love hardware stores myself. And if your dementia loved one enjoyed going to hardware stores, take them there just to walk around, and they'll enjoy looking at all the different things. And another idea from hardware stores is this, is to get like nuts and bolts and screws of different sizes, just put them in a big box and give them to your dementia loved one and say, could you help me sort these out, please? And they will enjoy sorting those out and getting those organized. All these suggestions I'm giving you are very subjective to what stage of dementia your loved one is in at the moment. Parks. Go by somewhere and get a kids meal, because I get a kids meal now, but just get whatever sandwich they like, pick up lunch somewhere and go to a park and go to where there's a pond and maybe ducks there or people around. That's not good just for them. It's good for you too, because it gets you out of those four walls and it gets you out into some fresh air. So I'm sure you can find at least one to take your loved one to. The seventh thing is walking tracks. My mom and dad walked on walking tracks as long as I can remember. They always went there just to get some exercise, and as they got older, it was easy to do that, and it wasn't too strenuous for them, and it got them out into nature and into the sunshine. So don't forget walking tracks. Put that on your list of things to do. And the eighth thing, going along with exercise, is chair exercises. There is a guy on Instagram, and I'll find his name and pop it up here on the screen, and he has a lot of good chair exercises for elderly people. So try and somehow get a routine in your home where your loved one sits down and they do some chair exercises, because a lot of the times when they're plundering around and they're just restless, it's the fact that they need to exercise, they need to move more. I know I would watch my mom on a baby monitor in my bedroom, and at nighttime, that's how I watched Mom, and that was 10 years ago. But I would watch her on that to make sure she was okay. And many, many nights, she would be in there stretching her arms and lifting her arms and stretching her legs and just doing things in there, not even knowing that she was doing it. But her body knew that she needed some exercise. So, chair exercises, if you can just get them in your daily routine of living, that's going to be really something good that you can do too for your dementia loved one. Okay, balloons. Some of these things are super simple. It's not going to be hard to do. Get a balloon, blow it up. And I've heard some people take the pool noodles and cut them in half and just pop them back and forth to each other. And that's a fun thing to do. And it's an activity and it gets them moving. Again, children would love to do that with their loved one that has dementia. All right, the 10th thing, car rides. Take your loved one on a car ride when it's a pretty and sunny day out. Just take them on a car ride, drive them around just to look at some things, and maybe stop and get an ice cream or stop and get some French fries or both of them, because French fries dipped in vanilla ice cream are really good. If you've never tried it, just try it. It's really good. So that is something that's very easy to do, and a lot of dementia loved ones just enjoy so much just going for a ride in the car. The 11th thing is one I have never heard of. It's called Armchair Travel, and it's where you either ask your dementia loved one if they're still able to give some response. Where would you like to go if you could travel anywhere in the world? And for instance, if they say Europe, then find something on Europe on YouTube or get a video of Europe and sit there and watch the country be discovered from the comfort of your own chair. And if it's like they went to England, you want it to go to England, you could have like tea and scones or serve something that you would actually eat when you were in that country. And that's just called an armchair excursion or armchair travel. And I just think that's a really super cool thing to do with them. And the next thing, which is the 12th item, is gardening. If you have a loved one that liked to get out in the yard and have either a flower garden or a vegetable garden, this is a good time to do that again for them. You know, you can buy those raised flower beds. They're already, all you have to do is just put them together, or maybe you are a handy person yourself and you could just build them one that's up on legs, and then they won't be having to get down on the ground to do it. But to have a raised garden bed would be a lot of fun for them. You could even take them to the hardware store or a local garden center, and they could help you pick out what vegetables they wanted to plant or what flowers they wanted to plant. And they would really enjoy plundering around in a raised garden bed of flowers or a raised garden bed of vegetables. That's just a fun thing for everybody to do. Okay, the 13th thing. This lady took and made a small room into like a family room for her mom. And if you don't have an extra room, you can just do it in a corner of their bedroom. But she put in that room all these different items that her mom would enjoy using or enjoy doing, like what we've talked about, like the coloring books and the puzzles and the easy search word books that you can find. But the best thing I think she put in there for her was an electric typewriter. I was like, oh my word, that is such a cool idea. I was like one of two people on my small college campus back in the 70s that had an electric typewriter. And I thought, what a neat idea and cool thing to do for your loved one. Now, let me give you my answer to that question of how do I get my loved one to go with me? Because every time I ask them to do something, they say no. What we have to remember is, as this disease progresses, the ability to sequence in their mind the next step of what they need to do is sometimes killed by this disease. They absolutely cannot understand how they can get from, do you want to go with me to whatever, or do you want to whatever? Their brain just disconnects. They can't understand sequencing anymore, or their brain doesn't sequence anymore. It just doesn't do it. So instead of saying that, instead of giving them an alternative, what I would do is I would like grab my jacket if I'm getting ready to go out the door, and then just have their jacket and walk over to them and say, here's your jacket. We're going to go pick up some groceries at the grocery store. And that way you can easily guide them. They don't have an opportunity to say no. It's just, you're going to do this and let's go. We're just going to run to the grocery store and pick up some groceries. Or you can say to them, hey, the flowers at the botanical gardens are really pretty today. We're going to go and take some pictures of them, and hand them a camera as you're saying this to them. If you haven't got a camera, because we all use our phones now, go get them a camera somewhere, because that's what their brain's going to be remembering how to use. Just get them a camera and go to the botanical gardens and walk around and get some pictures made that day. Or you could say to your dementia loved one, hey, I need a smaller hammer than what I have for a project I'm doing. You are so good at picking out tools. I need you to go with me to the hardware store to pick out a hammer that would be good for me to have. See, I'm going to the hardware store all the time, I know, but it's got a lot of cool things there. But that way, your loved one feels like they're needed, and they feel like they're loved, and they feel like they're contributing to something. So I just love the thoughts of suggesting things to them without saying, do you want? Because when you say, do you want, their brain's going to probably automatically just disconnect, and it's going to be not understanding how to get from what you're asking them to the whatever it is that you want them to do. So I hope these are some good suggestions. I hope you can use some of them. Do this for me also. If you have some ideas that you use with your dementia loved one, please just drop them in the comments, and we'll just share it back and forth as a community. And also, I've got to say this, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so any links that I drop in my description, I will receive a small commission from if you go through those links to purchase anything. God bless you. Thank you for taking care of your dementia loved one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.